Okay, hey everyone, Michelle Ferreri here, Member of Parliament for Peterborough Kawartha. What a wild, wild ride, you know? It's, the circus continues, as many people have said, and I've had tons of you reach out, tons of messages. You know, a lot of people, well-informed, educated people, just don't even know what is happening in our political sphere. Just a couple days ago, Justin Trudeau announced he's intending to resign, and there's going to be a Liberal leadership race, and he prorogued Parliament till March 24th. And a lot of people are like, what does prorogue even mean? And it's a shutdown. All Parliament business, so your House of Commons, your committee work, is all shut down, and everything that was active is gone. It would have to be restarted in the next session of Parliament. It's a political tool used, and quite frankly, it was an extremely selfish move on behalf of the Prime Minister, because all of his MPs had finally said, "Oh wow, we're going to lose our job, so we better not support this guy anymore." Meanwhile, they've supported him up to this point. And so they all wrote these public letters that he had to step down, and he was basically forced out. But he didn't need to prorogue, and we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about where the Governor General falls into all of this. So what I'm noticing online is a lot of misinformation, because people don't actually know what's going on and how it impacts Canada. And, you know, with the Trump threats of what's happening, it's just mass chaos. So I've brought in a great expert here. I've got Chris Dummett with me. Chris Dummett is a professor at Trent University. He's also a columnist for the National Post. And Chris recently wrote an article about what the Governor General did wrong. So we're going to answer quite a few questions in this segment, and I'm happy to welcome Chris. Chris, thanks so much for being here today.
Hey, Michelle, happy to be here.
And you have to mind the very informal video style. We don't have the pretty mics and all of that kind of stuff. We're just going to get the info to the people.
Just the pretty guests.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so tell me a little bit about what you wrote this article about the Governor General's role and what she did wrong when Justin Trudeau asked for prorogation. Can you break that down for folks?
Yeah, I mean, prorogation is in some ways just a perfectly normal thing that'll happen in a parliament. A prime minister can ask for a parliament to be prorogued, you know, for a whole host of reasons, most of which are usually pretty normal. There's nothing implicitly sinister about it. But in this case, it looks like it's pretty clear that the reason that Trudeau asked for prorogation is because he was trying to avoid facing Parliament. Over the holidays, Jagmeet Singh, really, which is the most important thing, he had announced that the NDP would no longer support the government, and the government,
the Bloc,
the Bloc had already announced that. Yeah. The Conservatives, of course, were saying that they were going to support the government. So Trudeau has a minority government. He needs the confidence of Parliament in order to govern. He doesn't have a majority government. He hasn't had a majority government since 2019. Mm-hmm. And so that is really the most important thing that you have to keep in mind, is in our parliamentary system, the Prime Minister, the government needs the confidence of Parliament. And it became clear over the holidays that the Trudeau government did not have the confidence of Parliament. So that's the key first thing.
Right.
And then, so when a Prime Minister goes to the Governor General and asks to prorogue Parliament, the Governor Generals have very, very little role in our system aside from giving out awards, and that's a good thing, right? That gone are the days when we have kind of monarchs who have real power, but they have really one major power that they still need to wield, and this is the reserve power to essentially say to a Prime Minister, mostly, yes, you can dissolve Parliament, we can call a new election, etc., except in cases, which is exactly what this case is, where a Prime Minister does not hold the confidence of Parliament, and he or she are trying to avoid going back and being voted out of office. And that's exactly the situation we find ourselves in. And the travesty of this is that, you know, probably very few people know this. I doubt even the Governor General herself knows a lot about her role here, is that her role here was to say no. This is a clear case where a Prime Minister does not have the confidence of Parliament. That was very clear for weeks. And I'm not talking about public opinion polls, which in some ways don't matter. What matters is the members of Parliament who are the representatives of the people have said, their leaders have said they don't have confidence. So the Governor General should have said to Trudeau, actually, this is not the time to do that. You should go back and face Parliament at the time you said you're going to face Parliament, and we'll see if the people's representatives have confidence in you.
She's really a symbol. I mean, the Governor General is simply a symbol of the monarchy. But now my question is, and she's appointed by the Prime Minister, which in itself is a bit of a conflict in my opinion. But what are the repercussions for her?
Well, the repercussions for her, I hope are a bad reputation. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but probably very little. I think she's an important symbol. What she's supposed to do, what the Governor General is supposed to be, is a symbol of our traditions, right? This traditional government goes back a millennium. Right. It's an important symbol. But she does have one reserve power. And I think if we educate Canadians, including people who actually get appointed to the role of Governor General, about the nature of what they're doing and the really the one basic reserve power they have, which is to ensure that a government, that a prime minister has to face Parliament, especially if that Parliament has said that they don't have confidence in them.
100%. And listen, I am very blunt about my feelings on this. This is a completely selfish move. And what I've noticed in a lot of social media posts, especially sort of left-leaning or liberals or NDPs, is they say, Justin Trudeau had no choice. He had to prorogue government, excuse me, because he stepped down as leader, which is completely false, correct?
Yeah, I think there's a big distinction here you have to make between the Liberal Party, which obviously has all these rules about how to select the Liberal Party ruler, and the government. The government is not the Liberal Party. In fact, the government isn't even all the Liberal MPs, all of Justin Trudeau's MPs. The government is the Prime Minister and this cabinet. And that cabinet needs to have the confidence of Parliament. You could, in theory, have a bunch of Liberal MPs, and I think you did have, in theory, a bunch of Liberal MPs who don't support the government. So it doesn't matter how the Liberal Party chooses their leader. That's irrelevant. What matters is whether Parliament, the people we vote in, have confidence in our government. They didn't. And the Governor General, tragically, has let this happen. And I say tragically because, you could say, well, it's just a couple months, they're supposed to meet at the end of January, now it'll meet at the end of March. But in this kind of situation, the political situation which we face, with obviously everyone's thinking about Trump's inauguration, the tariff threat, the kind of economic crisis, this is exactly a moment where a couple months could be incredibly important.
Yes. Everything that's happened it's historical. So what's now happened as of yesterday is there are lawyers, it's the Constitutional Freedom Rights,
the JCCF,
okay.
Judicial Center for Constitutional Freedoms, I think is the short form.
They are now pursuing a lawsuit that this prorogation is illegal based on what?
Based on the fact that Canada's Constitution is not just the written Constitution of 82, but it's actually a series of traditions and precedents, right? How Parliament works. So many things aren't even written in our Constitution. In fact, the name the Prime Minister doesn't even appear in our Constitution, the written Constitution, something most people don't know. And the precedent here, our unwritten, our constitutional precedents are the Governor General in these situations where a government is trying to flee a vote of non-confidence should say no. And by allowing that not to happen, the Governor General is kind of betraying the Canadian Constitution, the unwritten Canadian Constitution.
Yeah, this is really wild, and I think what Chris has done so well, and what I've really I knew this before, but what I've really noticed since Trudeau decided to intend to resign, people don't know, because our education system actually doesn't people think I'm the government.
Yeah.
I'm in opposition. That's not the same thing. There's so many facts and education pieces missing. And I just don't think we do a good job of educating our public of how the political system works in Canada.
Yeah, I think we do a terrible job, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. This video isn't the reason.
That's another video for another time.
But we do a really bad job of teaching our students, but also our adults, our members of Parliament, what Parliament is, what our parliamentary traditions are, the nature of, and really the most important thing is the nature of confidence. The reason that our system is not an American system, and we live in such an American saturated world, and I think we just imbibe all these American ideas. But the key component of our democracy is the motion of confidence. Does a prime minister, does a government enjoy the confidence of Parliament? And there's a whole history behind that. I could love to tell you more history details, but the fact is that's the key concept that we should be teaching over and over and over again.
So this lawsuit, does it have any legs to stand on, and what can Canadians expect?
I would say it might have zero legs to stand on because the court could just strike it down right away. But I think it should have a pretty big impact. If it gets in front of some judges who understand the nature of our parliamentary system and understand it in a way that is nonpartisan, that's really historical. I think it could have a big impact, and it could mean, in theory, pretty quickly that the prorogation gets overturned. Although I wouldn't bet on it, but I think that's what should happen.
It should absolutely happen. We are literally in a crisis. And so I guess, I like to leave Canadians with a little bit of hope, or a lot of hope in this instance. Is it possible that we get out of this prorogation before March 24th and we do go to the polls before then?
It's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah, it should be possible.
Okay. And I will leave you with this. It's not going to matter. I don't know Chris's position on this. It's not going to matter who replaces Justin Trudeau. This is so far gone, and everybody who stood with him at this point is as equally guilty of this position that we're in. And so we need to get on with an election as soon as possible. I think that's the only way out of this. It's been the only way out of this for a long time, and yet here we are prolonging the proroguing as my
PPP.
Thank you so much, Chris. If people want to learn more, this guy is full of insight and wisdom. You have a podcast. Where can people find you?
You can learn all about the history of this, 1867 and all that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. Look forward to more columns. When will your next one be out?
Probably another week or so.
Okay. Can you tell us what it's going to be about?
Well, actually, I had one yesterday, or is it today, in the Hub on the legacy of Justin Trudeau.
And what is that legacy?
Too hard to say right now. I think the title was He Didn't Understand Canada.
Listen, I said this to Chris before. I said, when somebody sort of passes away, we automatically go, oh, thank you. Everything that was perfect about this person. Just because Justin Trudeau decided to intend to resign does not clear this man of what he created. And his legacy is not good. And, I think that's really important. This guy's legacy is, I'll leave it at that. I have nothing further good to say other than the word selfish. And we are going to keep fighting for you. Thank you so much, Chris. This is Chris Dummett. For those of you who are just joining, he's a professor at Trent University, a columnist for National Post. And if you missed this, start from the beginning, because he does an excellent job of explaining what the Governor General did wrong in allowing Justin Trudeau to prorogue, and the implications of possibly making the prorogation illegal, as well as what happens next. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll keep you updated as much as we can. Keep sending your questions. They're great. Have a great day.